welcome back to the live coverage of the Global Alumni Reunion. We have a couple of great guests with us right now. Arthur Brooks, who just spoke recently, teaches at Harvard, and Anneloes Raes is professor at IESE and managing people and organizations. I want to get at it with Arthur Brooks because you're famous for happiness. We're going to talk about sustainability, the serious stuff.
Okay.
But happiness is pretty serious too. Do you get a refund if you buy your book and you're not happy afterwards? I mean,
it's a good idea, actually. Yeah. I should guarantee happiness and bankrupt my publisher.
Guarantee.
That's right.
Guarantee.
Doesn't matter what I guarantee.
Okay.
But so.
Yeah. Okay. But let's go beyond that. I mean, you have a background, American Enterprise Institute.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur. What's the role of entrepreneurs in this subject of sustainability?
Well, entrepreneurs are central to basically all of the new ideas and progress that we have in almost any society. And the key thing to keep in mind is that entrepreneurship is not about business. Entrepreneurship is about finding new ways to make progress, ways that conventional people hadn't thought of before. So one of the things that I teach my students, for example, is they need to live their lives like startups. And that means, explosive goals that matter in love, for example. And if you want to be if you care about sustainability and you care about entrepreneurship, then you want to be an entrepreneur in the goals of our society. And that requires new and interesting and innovative ways to create the solutions for sustainability, solutions for happiness, for more people to live better lives into the future.
Okay, you're talking about new ways, and yet, if you allow me a criticism, a lot of your solutions to happiness are like old-fashioned: faith, family, get a good job, a meaningful job, right?
Yeah, but everything is old is new again, and this is an important thing to keep in mind is that the oldest ideas, the wisdom that actually of the ages that actually brings happiness, we always forget it. See, here's the key thing. So for a person to be the happiest possible person, the key is faith and family and friendship and work. And I don't mean a specific faith, I mean a perspective on life. The problem is that left to our devices, we forget that and we pursue a different four things. Money, power, pleasure, fame. Yeah. Those things won't bring happiness, and yet we always go back to them. And so we need the wisdom of the ages, which is the entrepreneurial newness that actually brings the happiness to life.
Great.
Great. Sure. So, Anneloes, a question for you, perhaps for both of you. Well, as an expert in people management, what are the advantages of humanistic management? And how can you bring happiness into management? And what does all this have to do with sustainability?
Well, I guess honestly you can answer that in many different ways. For once, you can say working on sustainable aspects of life, of work, of environment, of circularity, whatever it is, you would expect that to bring happiness because you contribute to something bigger than yourself. I would also imagine that happy people have more energy, have more creativity, or have more chances to innovate, so you would also expect it the other way around. You would expect that people who are generally in a happy state come up with more creative solutions, are more optimistic about the future, have more confidence and faith that things can turn for the good. So I think that, it's a broad question. I can come up with 10 more things, but I would expect at least these two effects, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get people? I mean, it seems to me one of the big questions here is getting people to think beyond their own selfish interests. Self-interest, maybe not selfish, self-interest. Getting countries to look beyond their own self-interest as well. And how's that shift work? I mean, that's sort of you need a religious conversion to do that, right? I mean,
it doesn't hurt, actually, but the whole point is that we need a sense of solidarity to be truly happy. Yeah. And in an intensely and an increasingly globalized world, solidarity means solidarity with the rest of the world. And so if we want to be happy as people, we need to be happy in communities. For communities to have more happy people in them, they need to integrate into society, which is increasingly in a flat world. And where people have knowledge of how people are living around the world, it's incredible how the benefits of globalization have blessed us all. I mean, the fact is that the ideas that we hold dear, like the free enterprise system, that entrepreneurship, the rule of law, that the idea of property rights, of the culture of entrepreneurship, that these things have pulled 2 billion people out of poverty since you and I were kids. I mean, this is the greatest economic miracle in history, and yet we sometimes forget that we need to continue to share these values and make sure that they can be sustained in a world going forward. Do we have a world in which 50 years from now people can pull themselves out of poverty with the free enterprise system, or don't we? True sustainability means a a sense of philosophical consistency, solidarity with the people at the margins of society. And what a great and beautiful adventure that is. That makes me happier to be able to be part of that worldwide.
Yeah, and in a way, I also think it's a little bit of a false dichotomy, because in the end, I mean, what is your own interest? The things that bring you happiness, like you yourself, are in fact what you do to contribute to others. So by serving others, you also make yourself happy. So in that, I know it doesn't always work like that. We would have solved all world problems.
Well, no, it's like Arthur says, you forget that because you see a big pot of money and you think better for you than for someone else, right? I mean, yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, we're distracted easily is the problem. And one of the biggest mistakes that we have a tendency to make is this idea that if it feels good, do it. I mean, the truth of the matter is that might be a biological prerogative, but the truth is if you want something to make you happy, sometimes you need to go against your immediate instincts. This is one of the beautiful things about being human. My dog can't do that, but you know what? I can, because I'm fully alive as a human living in a community with bonds of love, including even love for people I've never met and will maybe never even see.
Yeah. You both know IESE pretty well. You know, it's a mission-driven school.
Yeah.
What's purpose have to do with all of this? And how many companies do you see with real purpose?
Well, I mean, I guess this was a conversation that also we had over lunch, and I think the key to that is also consistency, because it's one thing to have like a nicely formulated company purpose, but it doesn't, I mean, in the end, it's more about what you live. And I would also say even you can live a purpose even if you haven't formalized that in any way. I know companies that are living it, that are doing it. I wouldn't know any full numbers on that, but yet I would be optimistic that people and companies have a purpose, and even if they haven't necessarily formalized it and they wouldn't be able to put it in fancy word on the walls, but there's a lot of that sense, exactly because it serves an individual need. So people, it's not something that we have to be told to do. We have an inherent need to see meaning, to see a meaning in what we do. We're primed to do that. This is what young kids do. They seek for meaning. So it doesn't necessarily go against us and it needs to be forced upon us. The only thing though is that you need to be able to channel it and kind of mobilize and orchestrate that energy to kind of put it collectively. But in that sense, I think a lot of good things are happening there.
For sure. The interesting thing is that we have a tendency to, for my students, for example, to think that you have to do something in particular to have a mission that's noble and a mission that's good. And you know, I one time I met a guy who is the CEO of a cardboard box company, and I thought to myself, at first, you know, I'll admit, I thought it would be really, really hard to find the world-saving mission in this cardboard box company. Then I met the guy, and there were two things that this guy did who ran this company. Number one, he sanctified his work. He believed that his work was a blessing to other people. He took his work seriously. He wanted his work to be a good thing for all the people around him, including the people he worked for, including to his clients. And furthermore, he took great steps to help people in his company understand what they were doing for others. Now, we need cardboard boxes. You know, I move sometimes, for example. I mean, there's things that actually, that this is important for commerce, it's important for people's lives. And so what did he do? He actually showed, he would bring people in who were doing important things in their lives and using boxes, and bring those people in to see how the boxes were made and watch the amazement on their faces. And his employees saw people who were appreciative of what they were doing. Sanctify your work as a leader and show the people who work for you how they are serving others as well, and that will expose your mission.